We're live.
Good evening, everyone, to Apéro with the Congo Excellence ladies. We're very happy to have you here. We all have our little drinks ready, our little teas and waters and whatnot, to have this conversation with you guys. This is in our series of La Congolaise. We thought it would also be a great opportunity for our beloved viewers and followers in Congo Excellence community to also get to know the ladies behind Congo Excellence. Each lady is going to introduce themselves in 1 minute. This tonight is really dedicated to us coming together, having a conversation, sharing our experiences, our wisdom that we have already gathered as young women throughout our lives. We have all diverse backgrounds. We have many languages represented. We have many locations where we currently reside represented. We have different professional and educational backgrounds, and we would just love to share that with you and also come into a conversation with you. We are a bilingual team. We speak English and French. So this talk tonight is also going to be in both languages. The ladies are going to respond in the languages that they are most comfortable with. So can you. We really want to make sure that not only how many are we? 7 of us talk, but that you're also part of that conversation. If you have comments, if you have questions, if you have suggestions, if you have advice, please feel free to send that into the comment box. We'll make sure to share it with everyone. And let's just have a nice Friday evening where we get together, not only as ladies, gentlemen, you're also invited to talk and to be part of this conversation. I'm going to have a couple of questions that I'm going to ask the forum, and we'll just get into a conversation like that. Juste bref en français pour nos francophones. Cet événement sera en français et en anglais parce que notre équipe est bilingue. Si vous avez des questions, si vous avez des commentaires, vous pouvez les poser dans le question box, dans le chat. Et on veut vraiment que cette soirée soit une soirée de conversation, de partage de nos expériences, des choses qu'on a appris, qu'on veut partager avec toute la communauté congolaise, avec les hommes, avec les femmes, et qu'on soit vraiment à l'aise ensemble. Ce soir, on va clôturer la Congolaise, la série qu'on avait créée pour célébrer la femme congolaise. Et on voulait vraiment introduire les femmes derrière Congo Excellence, leur expérience qu'ils ont eue dans leur vie professionnelle, dans leurs éducations. C'est ça ce soir. Nous sommes très heureux que vous êtes avec nous. Et on commence. So ladies, to all of you, who are you? Introduce yourselves, please. Who are you? What do you do in Congo Excellence? What do you do in your private lives that you all have as well? And where do you live? Just gonna start with Patricia.
Bonsoir à tous. Donc, je m'appelle Patricia Ntagoma. Je suis responsable de tout ce qui est événements, donc au sein de Congo Excellence. Et alors, quand je ne suis pas avec Congo Excellence, je suis architecte d'intérieur. Et pour le moment, je suis en Belgique.
Merci Patricia. Yasmine.
Alors, bonsoir. Je m'appelle Yasmine Kafarire. Pour le moment, je vis en Angleterre. Et au sein de Congo Excellence, je suis directrice adjointe de contenu. Et je suis aussi chargée des interviews que l'on fait pour notre magazine Congo Excellence. Et dans la vie, je suis food scientist, sorry. J'essaie de trouver le mot exact en français, mais c'est un peu compliqué. Donc, je travaille dans l'industrie alimentaire et voilà.
Merci Yasmine. Julia?
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm going to do this in English. I currently live in Germany. I am social media marketing manager at Congo Excellence. And I study languages, cultural studies, and business. And that's what I also do for work. I work as a content manager for an online shop.
Thank you. Espérance.
Merci pour la parole. Bonsoir tout le monde. Moi, je réponds au nom d'Espérance Bindi Bindi. J'ai vis en Allemagne. Chez Congo Excellence, je suis chargée de membres. À part Congo Excellence, ce que je fais dans la vie, que je suis étudiante en économie administrative. Donc, c'est un peu cette petite présentation sur la personne que je suis. Merci.
Merci, Espérance. Naomi?
I'm going to do it in English too. My name is Naomi. I'm currently based in Germany, and I just graduated in business administration with a double degree in French and German. And I'm currently an intern in the development sector.
Thank you. Toutes et grâces.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tutegras Mubwangolo, but I also go by Tech. I currently live in Kinshasa, although I study in Mauritius. I'm a social science student. And at Congo Excellence, I am the translations team manager, because like Jenny said, we are a bilingual team, so we need to be able to communicate in both language, and I am in charge of that.
Yes. So we are all, I mean, most of us are in Germany. It just so happens right now that most of our women are based in Germany. But we all grew up in different places or spent most of our very young lives in different places. And as they say, where you come from really shapes you and gives you values. So I want to ask the forum, where did you spend the most of your life, and how did that shape you to the woman that you are today? Starting with Yasmine.
Ok, donc j'ai passé la plupart de ma vie à Bukavu, au Congo. J'ai quitté, je pense, en 2012. Oui, en 2012. Et how did that shape me? C'est difficile à dire parce qu'au Congo, on apprend plusieurs choses. Mais moi, personnellement, je dirais, ça m'a appris le sens de la communauté, le sens de la famille principalement. Donc, voilà.
Merci. Naomi?
Donc, cette question, je vais la répondre en français. Je suis née et j'ai grandi en Allemagne. Donc, je pense que l'influence que l'Allemagne avait surtout sur moi, c'est dans ma manière de penser et de travailler. C'est très cliché allemand, mais je pense que dans ces termes-là, je suis très, très allemande. Et pour tout le reste, avec l'aide de mes parents, j'ai quand même un côté congolais.
Merci. Toutes et grâces?
Alors, j'ai passé la majorité de ma vie à Kinshasa. Je suis née à Kinshasa. Je suis l'une des rares membres de ma famille qui sont nés à Kinshasa d'ailleurs. Donc, je suis née à Kinshasa et j'ai passé la majorité de ma vie à Kinshasa. Et je pense que ça a formé mon ouverture d'esprit. Vous voyez, parce que Kinshasa, c'est la ville congolaise où on rencontre un peu de tout. Tout ce qui est congolais, tout genre de congolais se retrouve à Kinshasa, et ça crée une certaine ambiance qui fait en sorte que tu en ressors forcément ouvert d'esprit. Mais aussi, Kinshasa est tellement unique que pour moi, ma mission en tant que femme et être humain est très attachée, mais au pays aussi. Donc, bien que depuis quelques années, je vais dire,
Comment se gèrent les problèmes des connexions? Ok. Tout de grâce, dès que tu es de retour, fais-nous un signe, je vais te mute. And then we'll just continue to make a sound when you're back. Patricia, where did you spend most of your life, and how did that shape you?
So I was born in Kinshasa, but spent my childhood in Bukavu, spent a lot of time there with Yasmin. And my family moved to Belgium when I was a kid. I think I was still 7. So I guess growing up here and there and trying to go back as much as possible. It's like Yasmin said, it's the family. So traveling is great, but it's always good to have a home. So un foyer, pour dire en français. So I think that's what I would say was the thing I learned.
Thank you. Toutes grâces. Are you? Can you hear us now?
Back. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, I think there's a delay. Okay, so Esperance, where did you grow up and how did that shape you?
Alors, moi, j'ai grandi à Kinshasa. C'est là que j'ai passé aussi la majorité de ma vie. C'est vers 2015 que je suis arrivée en Allemagne pour des raisons d'études. Donc, vivre à Kinshasa et grandir à Kinshasa a eu à transformer la personne que je suis en fait à travers cette façon de vivre en famille, en société, le partage, l'entraide. Ce sont vraiment de valeurs que mes parents ont essayé d'inculquer en nous et on le trouve un peu aussi partout à Kinshasa. Donc, la joie de vivre, donc c'est un peu ça qui fait la personne que je suis en fait. Je peux le dire aussi.
Comme on essaie encore une fois, toutes ces grâces.
Est-ce que vous pouvez m'entendre?
Oui, parfaitement.
Donc, comme je disais, vous avez la preuve que je suis effectivement à Kinshasa. Donc, je disais que donc le fait que j'ai grandi ici, ça a créé un attachement à ma mission personnelle. C'est-à-dire que je ne peux pas me séparer, moi, de toutes les expériences que j'ai vécues, toute la connaissance que j'ai recueillie en ayant grandi ici. Donc, je pense que c'est de cette façon que ça a vraiment shape the person that I am, the woman that I am.
Yeah. Julia, what about you?
I was born in Germany, raised in Germany, spent most of my time in Germany, and it has shaped me actually in many ways. But I think the most important is that growing up in 2 cultures has helped me develop a kind of sensibility or for different cultures, for different ways of living. And I think if I did not grow up in Germany, or if I did not grow up in these 2 cultures, I would have never discovered my professional talent. I now study intercultural studies. I specialize in my master's, and I think I understand it better, how there can be different ways of viewing the world, of viewing things, of having different opinions, speaking different languages, gestures. They can all be so different, but still there's a way to combine them and to live both of them. And that's the way in which being a Congolese born in Germany helped me understand better. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think for me it's similar to Julia. My parents always made sure that you're born here, you grew up here, but you have a place to call home where you belong to. And I think just having that like double identity makes you it makes you able to conform to different situations, but also like the ability to speak different languages. Sometimes I feel like my brain is just like everywhere and really nowhere, but it really enables you to do different things and to be in different situations and know how to adapt. So I think, yeah, being born and raised in Germany, but being of Congolese descent really helps you navigate and really maximize on different opportunities because you're able to be in different things at the same time because you're different things at the same time, if that makes
sense. Have to reflect more also, like you reflect more and you're more sensitive to just
So as I said in the beginning, this Apéro with Congo Excellence team is part of our La Congolaise series. We had 3 series or 3 forum La Congolaise in the past 3 weeks. And we had very, very interesting conversations with women and men from different backgrounds and experiences. And I would just like to know, Teg, what was the thing that marked you? Like, what did you take from these conversations or a specific conversation? We all remember your intervention last week that left us all in awe and just very proud that you're one of us. But what marked you in the last 3 weeks?
I think the session that marked me was last week's session, and the male panelists really marked me in the sense that he was involved in this conversation in a way that you could see, the conversation was revolving around Congolese women within the society. And the way he was, making his points, answering questions, you could see that he actually took the time to, gather knowledge, to have some knowledge around this topic, So his opinions were very informed, very, very smart, And I think that speaks to the fact that, we have to stop thinking that conversations like this has to be, only for a certain group of people. Right? When we speak about women, that's only a women issue.
Yeah.
Pourtant, les challenges et les problèmes dont on discute dans des conversations comme celle-ci, c'est des choses qui, bien que ce sont les challenges de la femme, les problèmes de la femme, we can only solve them together. We all, like we saw last time, we talked about women in their households, and the topic of husbands kept on coming back. So that means that in a certain sense, that's a work that we have to do together. And I feel like that session really brought that, and the male, panelists approach really brought that up, the fact that we are in this together and we can only solve these challenges together. So I think, that was an highlight for me.
Naomi, what was the highlight for you?
Je vais rejoindre toutes tes grâces sur ce point-là. I think we tend to forget that the topic of feminism is something that has, of course, to be led by females, but is still an inclusive subject that we have to treat together. Parce qu'on ne vit pas dans des mondes séparés. Il n'y a pas un monde pour les hommes et il n'y a pas un monde pour les femmes. On vit dans des mondes où on est continuellement ensemble. Et bien sûr, on arrive aussi à un moment donné dans la vie, la plupart d'entre nous aspirent au mariage, aspirent à être avec un partenaire. Donc, il faut que les hommes travaillent aussi avec nous pour aller dans le sens de cette conversation. C'est très important. Et justement, comme tout est grâce, moi aussi, cette conversation-là, elle m'a marquée, pas pour minimiser la contribution des autres femmes pendant tout le forum, qui a été excellente et qui a été très, très enrichissante, mais c'est juste que ça a été ça m'a fait plaisir de voir un homme vraiment prendre position pour la femme, pour sa condition, reconnaître aussi que sa femme à lui, comme il l'a très bien dit, joue aussi un très grand rôle dans son travail et il doit être là, tout comme sa femme est une aide pour lui. Lui, il aussi a le rôle d'aider sa femme et de la soutenir pour qu'ensemble, ils avancent. Et personnellement, moi, je me suis dit, ça donne espoir, en fait, de voir qu'il y a des hommes encore qui pensent comme ça, des hommes, surtout des hommes africains, parce qu'on sait que le patriarcat et voilà, le machisme dans notre communauté, c'est un très grand sujet. Mais oui, en tout cas, moi, ça m'a marqué, ça m'a fait vraiment plaisir d'entendre un homme parler du féminisme, on va dire entre parenthèses, aussi bien.
Ouais. C'est aussi le feedback que j'ai reçu beaucoup de fois. Ils ont dit Laurent était juste like
L'homme de la situation.
l'homme de la situation, you know, and just the way he also conveyed it was just very convincing that it's not something that he's just saying for the sake of saying, but because he's actually standing behind that. And I was watching it with my dad and my brother, and I was just like, I hope y'all are listening. This is good, you know, not that they're bad in any way, but I think it is often for other men that also think the same way. It is also great to just watch someone else publicly say that as well, and just be encouraged in that as men. And just, you know, we are all maybe going to be mothers. And it's just, I think, hopeful to see, okay, this is someone that my son may one day aspire to be, or the way he's speaking and the way he stands. So, yeah. Julie, I don't know if you wanted to say something to that. Okay, because you were just moving your head, so I wasn't sure. Espérance, what was a highlight for you in the last 3 weeks?
Les 3 dernières semaines, avec les invités qu'on a eus, il y a eu beaucoup de trucs intéressants qui ont été partagés. Moi, personnellement, j'ai l'édition qui m'a beaucoup plus suivi, c'était la dernière qui s'est passée la semaine passée. Ben, tout justement, il y a ces côtés, la présence de Laurent, qui est ce côté masculin-là qui a rendu les choses un peu, je dirais, un peu plus magiques. Pas pour minimiser aussi la contribution de femmes comme Naomi l'a dit, mais c'était juste bien fait. C'est un homme qui comprend le rôle de la femme et la place aussi de l'homme, tu vois, dans ce processus-là de l'épanouissement de la femme, parce que dans la société congolaise est bien évidemment patriarcale, et c'est pas seulement au Congo, c'est plus en Afrique. Donc, quand il y a ces côtés-là de femmes qui s'élèvent et qui revendiquent leurs droits, qui se disent capables de faire certaines choses, d'un autre point, c'est mal vu par d'autres personnes. C'est vu comme, j'ai considéré ça de femmes rebelles, en fait. Tu vois, alors que c'est pas ça. On veut juste avoir une place sur la table et faire les choses ensemble. C'est pas un rapport de force entre la jante masculine et la jante féminine. Ben moi ça m'a beaucoup impressionnée. J'ai trouvé ça très intéressant de voir un homme qui comprend vraiment ces problèmes liés à la femme congolaise. Et ce que j'ai retenu aussi des autres forums, en fait, c'est que les femmes ont vraiment un grand travail à bâtir encore. Hein. Elles ont vraiment à faire. Donc, j'aimerais beaucoup plus insister sur la solidarité féminine. Donc, si avant, il y avait déjà des femmes qui se soutenaient, alors maintenant, il faut en faire encore un peu plus, puisque il y a vraiment un grand travail à faire. C'est vrai qu'il y a en ce moment-ci, il y a une sorte d'éveil de conscience, pardon, mais le reste est encore à faire. Il y a vraiment beaucoup de travail à faire, que les femmes s'élèvent, que les femmes se soutiennent. Ça, c'est vraiment le highlight que j'ai retenu aussi de ces éditions, en fait. Un peu ça.
We're speaking of the Congolese woman, la Congolaise, nous entrant des femmes, etc. Mais c'est qui es-tu et comment comprends-tu la femme congolaise? What is the Congolese woman for you? What does it mean for you to be a Congolese woman, Julia?
It means, I think I consider, like, for myself, I consider myself first as a woman, then I'm from Congo. And that means, for me, it means diversity. Diversity, not only in the sense of, because I was born in Germany, but also in Congo itself. Like, there's extreme diversity in the country. You can sense it's like, if you're from the West or from the East, there's a huge cultural difference. And to me, it means just being open-minded, being diverse, being intelligent, and being kind of it's just this sense of awareness of your rights and your powers. So yeah, just to sum it up, I think these are the main, like if I had to make bullet points, that would be that.
For you, Yasmin.
Sorry. For me, la femme congolaise, en fait, quand je pense à la femme congolaise, principalement, je pense à, disons, quatre forces majeures qu'elle pourrait avoir, en fait. Et la première des forces, c'est la reproduction. En tant que mère, on porte quand même l'humanité en nous, tout comme toute autre femme, mais principalement pour la femme congolaise, je vais expliquer aussi ça. Elle a la force de la reproduction. Elle porte l'humanité en elle et on doit lui donner quand même cette, on doit reconnaître ça d'elle. La deuxième force serait la force de la production. Donc, connaissant notre pays, on a une forte, partie de l'agriculture qui est maintenue aussi par les femmes. Toutes ces femmes qui vendent au marché des tomates et tout ça, ce sont quand même quelque part des productrices aussi. Elles contribuent à l'économie. Et la troisième force, je dirais, c'est la force de l'éducatrice. C'est quand même la première éducatrice de l'enfant. Qu'elle ait fait des grandes études ou pas, c'est la femme congolaise, c'est elle qui a le premier contact de l'éducation avec son enfant. Et la quatrième force, je pense vraiment que ça revient encore à l'histoire de la femme congolaise, même précoloniale, et c'est la force de médiatrice. Je me souviens avoir lu quelque part, je ne me souviens pas très bien où, so don't quote me on this one, c'est que la femme congolaise, bien africaine, bien avant le colonialisme, n'avait pas de frontières. Donc, elle était vraiment la femme qui aidait à instaurer la paix dans deux tribus, par exemple. Donc, c'est quand on voyait, par exemple, que la femme pouvait être, elle pouvait épouser un autre homme d'un autre tribu pour créer une alliance. Et je pense que cette place de la médiation continue jusqu'à maintenant parce que même au sein de la communauté, on voit cette femme à chaque fois qu'il y a peut-être des issues dans les familles, dans les sociétés, cette femme est toujours là aussi en tant que conseillère, en tant que celle qui apporte une certaine médiation. Donc, c'est comme ça que moi, je définis la femme congolaise et à chaque fois que je pense à ces quatre forces, ça m'aide aussi à me définir moi-même. Donc, voilà.
Thank you. Espérance, la femme congolaise. Who is she to you? What does it mean for you to be a Congolese woman?
Ben, pour moi, la femme congolaise, c'est celle qui prend soin de sa famille avant tout. Après, ben, elle a d'autres tâches. Ben, c'est celle vraiment à qui ça c'est vraiment ce que j'ai vécu en fait en famille avec ma mère. Bon, quand on avait tout le temps des problèmes ou même quand on avait peut-être perdu un truc comme ça, là, on venait toujours vers elle. Donc, j'ai beaucoup vu plus de patience, plus ces côtés-là, cette aptitude-là à aider et cette disponibilité-là qu'elle a toujours montré. Donc, pour moi, c'est ça aussi qui fait partie, en fait, de la femme que je suis. À part ça, il y a ce côté travailleuse, la femme congolaise est celle aussi qui est capable de sortir, d'aller travailler et de rapporter quelque chose chez elle à la maison. Donc, ouais, on ne se limite pas seulement au niveau de la famille, mais on a encore d'autres capacités qu'on peut toujours mettre au profit de la société, au profit de sa famille et donc pour contribuer. Donc, pour moi, c'est un peu ça, quoi.
Tout est grâce, la femme congolaise.
Alors, pour une quelconque raison, when that question was asked, the word skill was coming to my mind. The word skill. And I was thinking about what I think it was, it was a CEO of a company here in Kinshasa. He's pretty well known. And he said, I think it was during his company's campaign for International Women's Rights Day. And he said that, but women are so skilled but why are they excluded? You know, c'est un manque à gagner pour la société congolaise, le fait qu'on exclut les femmes because women are so skilled. And from my personal experience, I've met Congolese women with a wide range, you know, whether I've met or I've heard of, I've interacted with one way or the other, read about, you know, we've even had some of them here as guests for this forum. So I've interacted with Congolese women with a wide range of interests and you know, skills and, you know, knowledge and, you know, career paths. And I'm always thinking we are really losing as a society when we, especially the Congolese society, because, you know, even on this panel, we have, you know, food scientists and, you know, des architectes d'intérieur, on a des social scientists. So it's really, we have so many skills. There's so much we can do. I think that it's really a loss for the Congolese society to exclude the Congolese women. So really, when I think about the Congolese women, I think of skills.
Right. Naomi, what is a Congolese woman for you?
Pour moi, je dirais que pour moi, elle est le centre de tout. C'est-à-dire le centre de... Enfin, les femmes en général représentent un peu le centre de la société, mais aussi le centre de la famille. On remarque ça vite fait très vite, quand la mère, elle est malade, tout, voilà, tout s'arrête, le monde s'arrête, quoi. Donc, du coup, quand je pense aux femmes, et notamment aux femmes congolaises, les femmes qu'on voit, même quand on part au Congo, quand on part à Kinshasa, les femmes, elles sont toujours là en train de vendre, elles sont en train de faire, elles sont dans l'action. Peu importe ce qui arrive, elles essayent toujours de tous les moyens de mener leur famille, de mener leurs enfants. Elles sont toujours là dans l'action, même si on dit que le rôle de mener traditionnellement, ça revient au père ou papa, peu importe. Mais les femmes derrière sont toujours là en train de mener, elles vont chercher de tous les moyens à ce qu'elles avancent. Et c'est vraiment à ça que je pense quand je pense aux femmes congolaises, aux femmes africaines, aux femmes en général, c'est qu'elles ont cette force-là de mener, de se sortir de toute situation, même si elles peuvent être dans des impasses, que ça soit financières ou, je sais pas, des moments dans leur vie où elles sont pas bien. Dans tous les cas, elles essayent d'avancer, elles essayent de mener quand même leur famille, leurs enfants, leur vie du mieux qu'elles peuvent, quoi.
Yeah. Also, just for our viewers, if you have any comments, if you also want to respond to the question, what or who is the Congolese woman, please put that into the comment section. This is really supposed to be a conversation with all of us, not only the ones here on the panel, but everyone watching as well. Donc, si vous avez des commentaires, si aussi vous voulez répondre à la question que je viens de poser, c'est qui la femme congolaise, aussi les questions suivantes, écrivez-les juste dans le box, dans le comment box, dans le chat, et on va inclure vos commentaires aussi dans notre conversation, car c'est une conversation pas seulement entre nous les panélistes, mais aussi entre nous, la communauté congolaise et la famille Congo Excellence. Patricia, la femme congolaise. Who is she to you? Who is she?
Je pense qu'elles ont presque tout dit, hein. Parce qu'on a déjà entendu qu'on est skilled, qu'on est un peu caméléon, right? Parce que peu importe la tâche qu'on met devant nous, on va trouver un moyen de le faire. Je pense aussi qu'on a une capacité incroyable à, j'ai pas envie de dire pardonner, mais à passer outre. J'ai dit pardonner, je vous ai vu sourire. on a une, je sais pas, cette capacité de, peu importe ce qu'on est en train de vivre, peu importe ce que like we're facing, we have to do, we're going to find a way to do it. We're going to put what we have to do before everything. Et je pense que il n'y a rien qu'on ne puisse faire vraiment. Vous voyez, souvent on dit, when you put yourself to it, you can do it. Je pense que it's even more true for Congolese women and African women in general. Vraiment.
Nice. Julia, is there any advantage or opportunity that has been unlocked because you are a Congolese woman?
Yeah, actually, as I mentioned, the advantage of being raised in two cultures, diversity was always a thing, and like I was, I think 5 or something to 5 or 7 when I first noticed these differences. Like when I'm outside, when I'm in kindergarten, school, I speak German. At home, we speak French, but then my parents also speak another language, and there's things we do that way, and Germans do it that way. So I definitely think I have an advantage in that, and not only for my professional background, but also for life in society, to have that awareness. And I think that I'm less judgmental because I know that there are different things existing and none is better than the other. So that is definitely an advantage I gained from being a Congolese. And that again brings opportunities of working the field I want to work in, which is intercultural, international intercultural communications, for instance. So yeah, that's I think the one of the biggest advantages.
Mm-hmm. Any other advantage, ladies, that you have unlocked that was, yeah, because you're a Congolese woman, that's an opportunity that you've experienced, or something that, you know, has opened because of who you are? Is it something that I mean, with Julia, it was very clear it's because of who she is and how she was raised. But is it something that just later on you realized, oh, it's because of my identity, it's because I'm a woman, it's because I'm a Congolese woman that I have this opportunity, not?
So I'm just going to tell a story. I studied in London, and I don't want to say there isn't many Congolese, but it's more Ghanaian, Nigerians, Jamaican. And when you say you're Congolese, they be a bit curious, or they expect you to be like the happiest person on earth, to know how to dance, to know this, and just so people will come to you easily. So c'est peut-être genre un avantage que j'avais quand j'étais en Angleterre, like les gens, because of what they know of Congo, or maybe the little they know about it, they'd be curious about me and just like want to know more about maybe my culture and stuff like that, which made me, well, I knew most of the answers, but you know, like I can't know everything. So it also made me curious about just to get to know more. And I didn't realize how Congolese I was until I went to London. And I was like, oh, I'm that Congolese. That was good, actually. But yeah, it took me a lot of time to realize that.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else with another experience? I see saying, je pense que les femmes congolaises sont aussi très humbles. Merci pour le terme caméléon.
I also feel like, for me personally, something that I have acquired from being a Congolese woman is the fact that I am, I don't want to say unafraid because I get scared sometimes, but I'm trying to, I'm really trying, I do. I'm really trying to explain what I'm trying to say here.
Is it bold?
On dit bold, that's the word. Thank you. On dit que je pense que les Congolais n'ont pas froid aux yeux. Congolese women are they're really bold. You know, when they want something, or they want to express something, you know, you're going to feel it. There's a certain strength to Congolese women, even if she's reserved and quiet, but when she really wants to carry across a message and she's really passionate about something, I think that is something very purely Congolese. They are unafraid. So I think that's something that I've carried with me, and it has allowed me to have a voice in very diverse places. And also, speaking of diversity, the DRC is a very diverse place, and we interact with so many different people, so many different culture within one culture, that it kind of, opens us up. So I get to be in spaces that are very, diverse, and I'm comfortable, but also my voice is not drowned because, Congolese women are just that bold, so yeah, I guess that's something.
I actually like what you said there, Teg, because you said we're really diverse, and I really do agree. And one thing is, because we are diverse, we kind of like complete each other. You know what you said, like Congolese women are bold. For me, I will just say the opposite, because where I grew up, I think it's also cultural. In my town precisely, women tend to be like more quiet. If I could, like, even if they think something, I think like they just had that ability to be like, okay, not step forward. But then again, when I see other culture within Congo, some women are really like, not loud, but like they say what it's on their mind. And I think we complete each other in that way. So yeah, I do agree, we're really diverse.
But I think for because I didn't grow up in Bukavu, but I know Bukavu a bit. And I mean, if there are other people that are from Bukavu or know people from Bukavu, please chime in. I know that Jemima is here, so she can represent. But I feel like even in that, not being, upfront and so openly bold, they're yet very bold. I feel like there is such a strength sometimes in the quietness, because I feel like they move in silence. They like, they don't have to speak much, but they maneuver around, and that strength, and it's both, as you said, it complements each other, because you have to be out there and be bold, but also that boldness and just being back and just do your thing despite of that, because they're still conquerors, they're still doing their thing, even though they're not the loudest. And I think that is something that is so admirable, because we often think that, like, in order to do something, in order to change something, we have to be loud, we have to be present, we have to be out there. But sometimes, I mean, Michelle Obama wasn't I'm sorry to use an American example, but I think everyone knows Michelle Obama wasn't the president, but that woman, she was still doing her thing in the back, and she still had an impact on people. And I think that's something important for all of us as well, because not everyone is a public speaker. Not everyone likes to be in front of the camera, but that's not something that should hinder you from making an impact or to change lives. Because, I think that, as you said, it really complements each other, and there's force and there's strength behind both. I think Jemima actually said something. That's true. Women in the East know how to use their voice as an amplifier for their voices. That's deep. To use their quietness as an amplifier for their voices.
And actually, what I wanted to add is that I also think that strength and boldness has nothing to do. It's not that whoever screams the loudest is the one who's bravest or strongest. Not at all. And I also think that it is something that I've learned in my home. You don't always have to scream or make people listen to you or for you to be powerful or strong. So there's always, that finding, I think strength for me is not forcing, but finding your way and to be just persistent, to persevere and not giving up. This is more the definition for me of strength and boldness. And you don't have to do that loudly, you can do it quietly. And there's something that I like. I have 3 sisters, we don't have a brother. So that's something we have been always taught as girls, like to be aware of yourself, be confident and be strong. Don't give up, this kind of thing. And I always say, I remember an anecdote that my father told me. I think I was maybe 8 or something, but it has marked me. The phrase was like, when everyone goes pigs red, and you, after reviewing all the facts and reviewing all the opinions, and you are sure and confident that it's green, you choose green. And this, like, always, like, I always say I don't have a lot of talents, but I always find a way of getting what I want because I just keep going until I'm satisfied, you know. And that's also something I think I get from having Congolese parents or being a Congolese woman.
Yeah. I mean, that comment you just said, that remind me, I don't know if you guys have, you ladies have also heard this, cette phrase de nos mamans qui, à chaque fois que un de tes amis fait quelque chose, est-ce que c'est parce que Jenny a fait ça, toi aussi tu dois faire ça? Est-ce que vous avez eu ça aussi, like that, trying to push you to actually also make your own choices, your own decisions? So yeah, I think we've all had that.
Yeah. Jeremiah saying, strength is knowing what you want and not let anyone nor anything stop you. And I think that's an important reminder, especially as women, as Congolese women. And I mean, we have that in all societies, that for us, it sometimes takes a bit longer to get to what we want or to be heard. But knowing that, as Julia also said, when you have heard all the arguments, and you're still convinced that green is green and not red, push through with it and just be confident in yourself that you know what is right, because you are able to analyze. Don't be right just because you want to be right. Be right because you know that you're right, and because you've analyzed and done the work to know that you're right. And sometimes for us women, it takes a bit longer for people to understand that what we're saying is right. But I really want to encourage us to like keep pushing that, because sometimes change and transformation depends on what you do and your decision to persevere and to push forward. And that's not only for women, that's for everyone. Sometimes it's really our decision to push through that can change people's lives. So I want us all to like remember that as well, that just because it's hard doesn't mean you have to give up. It just means you need to push harder for what you want. I didn't know this was going to be so motivational, but here we go.
Okay.
Now, are there like pressures that you have faced or that you have witnessed as a Congolese woman? I mean, I just said that sometimes it takes us longer. But is there something, Naomi, that was particular to you being a Congolese woman that make things more difficult?
Definitely, but I don't know if I can speak on just this being because I am a Congolese woman, or because I am from the diaspora, I am in Germany as a Congolese. I think it's two different situations, because I, as someone from the diaspora, I have to deal also with the fact that we are, I believe that when you are in another country, you are trying to find your community and to recreate the life you had, or the sense of community you had in your home country here. So it means, I mean, Congo is huge. Taking that here in a little city and trying to create this sense of community creates a lot of control, if you know what I mean. So it means for me, it was what was a real challenge is that I had to deal with all the pressure from the community. I had to deal with the advices from uncles and aunties that of course weren't my real relatives, but because we took this context of Congo here to Germany, they became the closest thing that could be in terms of relatives, and also with their expectation of how a girl should be, how a woman should be, and especially a Congolese African woman. So that was quite a challenge, especially for me being born here in Germany. I have to deal with the two cultures. So I have also, as I said, I have of course I am Congolese, and as my mother would say, when you enter in our home, it's just Congo. It's Kinshasa, it's Bakongo, it's everything you want. It's not Germany. Germany is outside. As soon as I step outside, then it's Germany. But still, since I was born here, I grew up here, I have also, j'ai cette manière de penser là, c'est normal. Et c'était très difficile pour moi, en grandissant, de balancer ce que cette société-là, cette communauté-là attendait de moi, les jugements qu'eux aussi ils apportaient, et moi, ma manière de penser et d'être entre ces deux cultures-là. Donc, de balancer vraiment, OK, qu'est-ce que je dois prendre de cette culture-là et qu'est-ce que je dois garder de cette culture-là et en faire, en gros, le meilleur. Je pense que je peux parler, je pense, au nom de tous les gens qui grandissent dans la diaspora. Le plus grand challenge, c'est vraiment de trouver ce juste milieu entre les deux cultures. Et surtout quand on grandit, pour moi qui ai grandi dans une petite ville, j'ai grandi dans le sud de l'Allemagne, il n'y a pas beaucoup de Congolais. Nous, on se connaît vraiment dans 50 kilomètres. Je veux dire, je vis à la frontière de l'Allemagne et la France. Je connais les Congolais même qui sont en France, 50 kilomètres d'ici. Donc, vivre avec toute cette pression-là, c'était très difficile. C'était très difficile, surtout quand on grandit en tant qu'adolescente et qu'on essaye de trouver un peu son identité, de comprendre qui je suis et d'où je viens et comment est-ce que j'arrive à manœuvrer en gros à travers la vie avec ces deux identités-là sans me faire, en gros, sans noyer dans l'une des deux, on va dire ça. Yeah. Et ce que je pourrais donner comme conseil à toutes les jeunes filles qui vont vivre la même chose, qui sont en train de vivre la même chose, c'est très bateau ce que je vais dire, c'est d'être vous-même, mais c'est très important de garder une tête froide et se dire, OK, je prends le meilleur de chacune des cultures, parce que oui, j'ai une identité congolaise très forte, mais je ne peux pas dire que tout est parfait dans l'une ou tout est parfait dans l'autre. Et je dois trouver cette balance-là entre les deux et de là faire ce qui est, on va dire, mieux pour moi. Voilà.
Mm-hmm. We have a very interesting question here, referring back to what I was saying, does the push look harder, the pushback look harder for women in Congo in comparison to those outside of Congo? By push, I'm referring to Jenny's last comment about pushing through no matter what. Does the energy required to push and to do what you believe is right different depending on where you are? Is it easier to push for what you want outside of Congo? A very good question. I mean, maybe Toute Grâce, share a bit of your experience in having to push.
I was about to ask, just to clarify the question. So is the person asking, you were talking about how we need to push through in order to get to where we want to get to or get what we want to get. So is the person asking, is it more difficult outside than it is inside or vice versa? Is that the question?
Yeah, like what? Yeah, is basically the experiences that Congolese women make going through with what they want. Is it different for you, for instance, being in Kinshasa than for me living in Germany?
Okay, so I feel like I don't know. I feel like being a woman comes with challenges no matter where you are, because I don't think that there's a single community or society on earth that has achieved equality. So I think that there are challenges anywhere. So, but I think it depends, it depends on the culture of the place. Even though there are challenges, the challenges may be different depending on where, on where you are. So let me just give you an example, because I've had the opportunity to live in DRC and to live outside. Outside of the DRC, I have the pressure. I felt the pressure. The issue, the thing that I was trying to push through was the fact that the expectation of excellence was too high. I'm not saying that, there is an expectation of mediocrity in DRC. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm simply saying is I felt like outside, just to be clear, outside I was expected you know, this expectation of, especially in terms of, you know, achievements, you know, career achievements or academic achievements, you know, you had to be an achiever. That's how I felt outside. But then and that's the thing that I'm always constantly trying to fight through when I'm outside of the DRC, to tell myself that, hey, I may not always achieve things. That doesn't take away any of my, you know, validity as a woman. I may want to chill, you know, and I'm still entirely a woman. It's okay. And then here in DRC, I saw someone talking about how, you know, people seek to transfer their identities to you. You know, there's a struggle, and that was to Naomi's point. There's a struggle with identity, you know, that we experience, that I personally experience even here, in the sense that, you know, the expectation for women generally in our Congolese society is to be docile, you know, sweet, soft, don't be too loud, don't be rebellious, quote unquote, don't these, just follow the instructions, you know. And the best you can do is maybe to stay quiet, because you shouldn't really have much to say or orders to give, because, you know, you nurture, be a nurturer. And I always felt like that wasn't me, you know. I felt more like an opposer, if that's a word, than a nurturer. I didn't want to nurture things. I wanted to oppose a lot of things, you know. So growing up in class, I was the student who would tell my teacher, but I don't feel like you saying this is actually right, because I think this. And that also has a lot to do with where I grew up, with my household, with, you know, with my parents raised me. We were raised to ask questions, sometimes, you know, disagree. That's something that is really normal in our household, but it wasn't as normal outside. So I constantly felt pushed to the line, or tu vois, comme si on me pointait du doigt, because of the fact that, you know, I'm not the, you know, the typical sweet, quiet, soft, docile woman. You know, I am very passionate. I'm very loud. And I'm not really scared of saying no or saying I disagree. It doesn't matter who you really are, you know. So I would really argue with people, often my teachers, and in school is where I felt it, you know. When people would try to shut me, like, why are you always disagreeing with stuff? Why can't you just so, you know, it's really that and I had to at some point I was like, man, you know, can you chill? I was telling myself, you know, can you really not chill, relax? Because it became so heavy on me, you know, that I felt people were looking at me as if, what is wrong with this girl? She doesn't fit the typical, you know, expectations or what a should be. So I've heard a lot in my life, and it got worse as I grew up, because even as a young girl, I was unsure of what I was saying most of the times, but as a young woman, I know better, and, you know, I'm more firm in my position. So it got worse. And now as a child, I was like, you know, you are too much. Now as a woman, I hear a lot, you will never marry.
Wow.
You know, men will not like you. You will, if you, yeah, you are not the type that people would like to marry. You need to relax, you know. If you ever want to get married, chill a little bit, because your strength, you know, that's really my pressure to break into that, you know, cette carapace de je dois être une certaine façon to be considered a valid or a complete woman, you know. I can be anything from sweet to sour, you know, from quiet to loud, and I can still be able to live in my power. So I really think that the challenges depend on the space that you are in and the setting.
Definitely.
Esperance, you also have the comparison, because you said you came to Germany in 2015. Is there a clear difference that you can see from how you have to push here in Germany to get what you want compared to back home?
Alors, moi, ce que j'ai à dire par rapport à ça est que quand j'étais au Congo, je suis allée à l'école, tout s'est passé, je dirais, comme je le voulais, en fait. Je n'ai pas vraiment rencontré des difficultés comme telles. Je me dis peut-être que c'est dû au fait que je suis née et j'ai grandi là-bas et je connais bien les milieux. Et quand j'arrive en Allemagne, et à un moment donné, je me suis vraiment sentie épuisée. Genre, je dois toujours aller donner vraiment le meilleur de moi. Même parfois que je suis déjà à bout, mais je dois toujours continuer à donner le meilleur de moi. Et il y a des moments où on a eu à échanger avec des amis sur plusieurs thèmes. Moi, je leur ai dit carrément, moi, je connaissais pas le terme stress, en fait. C'est en Allemagne que j'ai connu le terme stress, en fait. Et parfois, je commençais à dire, oh, je suis stressée, mais au pays, j'ai comme l'impression que tout est allé smooth.
Yeah.
En fait, pas parce que on exigeait moins de moi, mais comme Teg l'a dit, peut-être que c'est dû au fait que dans chaque culture, en fait, on a d'autres challenges. Et quand tu arrives dans un pays que tu ne connais pas, tu n'as pas d'expérience dans ces pays-là, donc tu es face à d'autres challenges et toujours tu dois donner le meilleur de toi. Tu dois vraiment donner plus que moi. Parfois, j'ai eu l'impression que je devais même donner plus que les Allemands, par exemple, parce que eux, peut-être que c'est dû au fait au niveau de la langue, c'est aussi leur système, ils savent aussi comment ça se passe, mais ouais, au pays, la femme congolaise est toujours placée dans ces cases-là de soumission. Tu ne dois pas trop parler. Tu dois toujours rester un peu calme. Donc, c'est un peu ça, quoi.
Yeah.
Ça, c'est vraiment mon expérience, surtout au niveau du stress. Donc, et quand je disais ça à mes amis allemands, ils disaient, mais comment tu connaissais pas le mot stress? Mais oui, je connaissais pas le mot stress. C'est vraiment en Allemagne que j'ai appris ce que c'est le stress, en fait. C'est vraiment ça. Ouais.
Yeah, because I think it is very important that we understand that pushing through for me is different than it is for Yasmin, than it is for Naomi, than it is for Tutegras. There is no definition that really applies to all of us, just like our experiences. Parce que j'ai des femmes qui du lundi au dimanche, they're just fighting to get to what they want and just have difficulties after difficulties. Whereas others, it's just like, it's a walk in the park. So I think it's not even something that, and I mean, we just see that in the experiences that Tute Grace and Esperance shared. Our experiences are all different. And I think what we all here want to do is to avoid to make general statements that yes, in Congo it's more difficult than it is outside or vice versa, but really just share our experience and what we have experienced. And I think another comment that is also very important that we need to consider is from someone on YouTube saying, I think it's important to see the intersectionality across class, age, location, language, education, and religion that influence the way we navigate. That is super important because just as Esperance also mentioned, here in Germany, now on top of being a Congolese woman, or let's just say a woman, right? She has to deal with language. She has to deal with a whole different system that is working not the way she was raised. If she goes back, she needs to readjust. There's so many different things that we experience make it easier or more difficult for us to push through situations and conversations sometimes that are that make it impossible for us to just make a general statement. But I really appreciate your stories. There are some other comments. When speaking of the pressures, the question that I asked Naomi Jimima is saying, there's also the pressure to get married so you can feel accomplished, being constantly reminded that as a woman, you should put water in your wine. That you should put water in your wine.
In your wine, yeah.
But constantly reminded to tame your ambitions so you won't scare men. And something that Tutegrans was also referring to. Jimima is also saying that expectations are always way too high for the girl child in our communities. Pascal is asking, are Congolese women where they want to be? Where are Congolese women going, quote unquote, and what needs to be done yet? What do you ladies think, Yasmin? Or let's do Patricia. She has been quiet for a bit too long.
I'm trying that thing, you know, the quiet Congolese woman.
Our Congolese women, where they want to be, where are they going, and what needs to be done yet?
Oh, I don't know, that question is a bit vague and I'd say a bit difficult as well. I don't think we are. I would talk for maybe CE and myself. I don't think we are where we want to be yet. So I like the yet, because it's first like my age. So I'm 27, and I'm transitioning, right? Because living the youth, becoming an adult. So definitely I'm not where I want to be. May say like, you know what? I know who I am, what I want, where I want to be, and it's right where I am. So this transition, is that answering his question? I hope it is.
Yeah, I think for you, applying it to you personally, yeah. Anyone else wants to answer that question? Are Congolese women where they are generally, and maybe you personally as well?
Yeah, I think regarding that question, I would just say yes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would just say yes, and that will be just for this generation. I feel like as a generation, we have been exposed to... Okay. I think as a generation, I would call us millennial, we've been exposed to a certain way of thinking that allows us to actually just prepare ourselves to become what we need to be tomorrow. And I think because we have that way of thinking, we can pass that to the next generation. Et pour moi, spécialement, je pense que that's exactly where any woman should be. She should be able to choose her own destiny. She should be able to speak her mind. She should be able to choose anything she wants to do. Et je pense qu'on a vraiment cette ouverture d'esprit qui nous expose à faire cela. So I will say yes, we're definitely where we need to be right now, so we can actually be where we need to be tomorrow.
Is there anything that needs to be done in order for us to get to tomorrow, or do you think we are set?
I mean, I will just say we continue doing what we're doing currently. Not being influenced or not feel the pressure from the old generation, I would say, or the cultural aspect or the traditional aspect. Let's just choose to continue doing what we're actually doing. That's what I would say. So yeah.
Toutes grâces.
I want to echo Patricia's feeling when she started. I think she said the question is really, it's a broad question, and I feel like this question is almost impossible to answer because there are so many Congolese women that we cannot ask everyone, because where I want to be is not necessarily where Naomi wants to be, and the time that is going to take me to get there and the time it's going to take her to get there is necessarily not the same. So we cannot get to a point where we say, are we there yet? As a whole, we cannot answer that question. That's what I feel. But I feel like the last part of the question is the more interesting part. What can be done? And I think the question should really be, what can be done to make sure that we create an environment where Congolese women get to where they want and need to be? So I think that's really where I am. And I feel like, we need to make, I think that this conversation we had during the culture tag with tag session with Uriel, she was one of our guests here, and she told us that it's one thing to want women to be independent within themselves, don't know themselves, and stand firm in their own power. But it's another thing when it becomes, when we look outside and the environment is toxic and doesn't allow us to ça ne nous permet pas de nous épanouir en fait. So I think we need to all make sure that we are supporting Congolese women and we are not silencing them, in whatever journey they are on. We need to make sure that, the housewife and the career woman feel comfortable. If her ambition is to be a housewife, we need to be sure that as a Congolese society, we make sure that she's safe in that ambition. If her ambition is to be a career woman, we need to make sure that she is safe and she gets there. So I think it's more of the environment than are we there yet? That's a personal question to answer. That's really personal. So I feel like we need to be careful of what we surround Congolese women with in order to make sure that they get to where they need to get. So yeah.
Anyone else wants to add to that? Where are we as Congolese women? Where are we going?
If I can add something, I think the question, are we where we need to be, is I have difficulties with the question itself, because I mean, as a if we try to apply to a human, am I where I want to be? Is it possible? Or I think the ideal is for you to always have dreams and goals. Like, I don't think that it's you one day wake up and say, okay, I'm done for the rest of my lifetime. I'm just chilling. I'm just you always have something you can do better. Like, we will never ever have that time where we say, okay, everything is perfect, and now we just wait till we die. And now everything is done. I don't think that is possible. But I would say we're on a good way. We're on a good path to, and now speaking of Congolese women in general, speaking of gender equality, of same rights, not only legally, but like actually having the same rights in a society. Speaking of the pressure, like women in and out of Congo, we have so much pressure on us. You have to study, you have to learn something, you have to learn how to cook, you have to find a man, you have to raise children, you have to, and everything you have to do. And in that, and with all these pressures, you can feel like from a young age, you try to find yourself, and especially as a teenager, or when you it's the time where you want to fit in, and then you start asking questions, so wondering, okay, what is expected from me, what do I have to do? And often girls do things that are expected from them, not really who they are, but what they think they have to do. And I think that is something we have to work on, just be more open and have less pressure on the women, and just see them equally. And I mean it's still an issue that there's women who can't do, or like, I don't know if they actually can't do the same jobs as men, but speaking of salary gaps and whatnot, so that we are very far away from that. But I think we are in a good way, but I think the state of perfection is almost impossible to reach.
I like what you said when you said girls sometimes think what people are expecting them to do is what they should be. Did you say something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny how culturally from your parents, from family, that tend to put their expectation or experiences they've had or things they expect you to do on you. So, even if I'm not going to say anything, but you know that stuff that they want you to do or they expect you to have done. And it's a lot of pressure for a person, for a woman. Maybe there's more at a certain age to women. I mean, on the comments, there's been many on, you said studying, on marriage, on cooking, on whatever. But it's also very important to, like Naomi said, remember, like, just to be yourself. And I think for that, it's important to kind of like take some time for yourself and to also one thing that I learned is to learn to say no. It's okay to say no. Like you can say no and it's not rude. It's not mean. Somebody can ask you to do something. You can't do it. It's fine. Don't do it. Because like, you know how you've got the pressure sometimes, like your aunt is going to ask you to do something and you can't do it because you have to study. You have that thing that you need to do. But if you say no, it's going to be perceived as rude or like, don't really have to explain too much, but I feel like there's like this kind of pressure sometimes that comes and it's very difficult. And I feel like we don't teach us enough to say no. And it's funny because at the same time, like Yasmin said, when we kids, they were like, oh, okay, Juliette, elle part là-bas à la fête. Est-ce que si Juliette saute du pont aussi, tu vas sauter? So the younger, they kind of like teach us to say no. But when we grow up, it's the thing like it's so I don't know. It's also one thing if you want to like get to your identity and grow. I feel like learning to say no, it's something we should know. And
well, I just want to ask a question. Do you feel like that pressure is only on women, or is it just on every child in Congo, basically?
On Congo, you said.
Yeah, because every child, but specifically in Congo. Because I feel like we've been saying that women have that pressure to be like this, be like that. At a certain age, you need to achieve this and that. But is it not the same for guys as well?
I think it is. But
I think the difference is that girls have more restrictions than boys. I think boys have more opportunities or are more freer in developing themselves. Like girls have more boundaries. I feel like I think there's more things that are forbidden to girls than to boys, and in that sense I don't say that girls have this hard childhood and boys can do whatever they want. They have a pressure, but a different kind of pressure and less barriers, I'd say.
I would also agree with that. I believe that of course, boys have pressure, of course, especially just to come back on what Espérance said about here in Germany, sometimes you have the feeling or in the Western countries, you have sometimes the feeling of having to do more than the people who are actually German or English or whatever. So that's, I think, a general pressure. And then, as I also mentioned, you have the pressure from the community where they want you to overachieve and to be this pressure of perfection. But I believe that as a woman, you still have more pressure in terms of, for example, you are expected to know how to cook. You are expected to know how to raise a child. You are expected to know how to comment on arrange une maison. You have all these expectations with all the other expectation of being Black, being second generation in a Western country, if you are in a Western country, or being the first one to study, whatever. So I think that, of course, je veux pas négliger la pression que les hommes aussi peuvent avoir, parce que c'est clair. Je pense que tout le monde, on a une certaine pression, surtout malheureusement dans nos communautés africaines. On a tendance à mettre cette pression de la perfection sur les enfants. Et ça, c'est une chose que je voudrais vraiment conseiller à tous les jeunes, c'est que ne vous mettez pas la pression pour être parfait. C'est OK d'avoir des imperfections. C'est OK de parfois ne pas réussir. On a tendance je vois ça aussi même à mes cousins, mes cousines qui sont un peu plus jeunes. Ils ont des mauvaises notes. Direct, on les casse, alors qu'il faut aussi avoir ce mécanisme d'encourager quelqu'un. OK, je sais que tu peux faire mieux. Je sais que motiver la personne à la place de complètement la terrasser. Ça, c'est un truc qu'on doit vraiment travailler. Et je pense qu'en tant que femme, c'est amplifié à un niveau, parce que on s'attend à ce que tu seras... Mais on a les tantines, moi, j'entendais des tantines qui disaient « Non, tu peux pas être stressée, tu peux pas avoir cette pression-là, parce que comment tu vas faire quand tu seras maman ? Comment tu vas faire quand tu es malade ? Tu peux pas te reposer, parce que comment tu vas faire quand tu seras maman ?» Et je me dis, mais je suis un être humain, donc je sais pas, est-ce que je dois... J'ai pas des super pouvoirs, donc comment on fait? Je pense que pour terminer là, les hommes ont une pression, mais les femmes africaines, ils ont encore une double pression, voire triple ou fois 10, quoi.
Yeah. And Nadine also
I really want to join now. And it's something that I've been thinking about since we started this conversation on pressure. The concept of failure has to come somewhere there. J'aime ce que Naomi a mentionné, le fait qu'on lui dise, and that's really something that I was thinking about how I grew up. You know, it has always been clear to me that I wanted to achieve all these things in life. And there was always someone to tell me, okay, but know this, you have to be excellent at work and your house has to always be clean. So you have to be someone's employee or be someone's employer. You have to be someone's mommy, someone's wife. You know, you have to be all these things and you have to do all these things very well, which is simply not possible. So I feel like to allow women to fail sometimes, you know. I cannot be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect, you know, employee or employer, and that's okay. I think there's also a pressure of if you want to take on certain things, if you want to, you know, be the go-getter, or if you just want to exist in general, women are made to think or to feel like they have to be, you know, failure is not a thing, you know, because if a woman, everything collapse. And I really want us to really detach ourselves, because then if we continue thinking that the society has to rely solely upon the woman, we are basically denying women the support that they need. So it becomes clear that ce n'est pas possible pour une seule personne, you know, to be excellent at, you know, career duties, life duties. You know, I have to be somebody's friend, lover, mom, you know, boss, and all those things. I have to, you know, be perfect at them. I think we really need to at some point just, you know, cut women some slack, you know, give us a break. You know, I really am.
Who do you
the
think
idea that, you know, everything has to rely on the, you know.
Who do you think that pressure comes from now? Because sometimes I'm thinking, and we will get into the comments in one second, because we have some comments that I should read out as well. But I often think when I'm somewhere or I see other women, right, and they're in a space where they're the only women, and I'm like, you can't fail, sis. You can't fail, because if you do, it's like that woman that failed, you know, and then it's all women that immediately will be covered by that. So I think that pressure itself, and then we have that in Western countries with, you have to be that exemplary Black person, so that every other experience that they make with a Black person is good, or their assumption of them, because they've made that good experience with you. So even as a woman, it's like, I can't fail because it will fall on other women who will then not get the chance because I failed. So I think it is societal that we don't really give, we're not giving enough air to breathe and to fail. But speaking for myself, I always feel like, okay, as the oldest, you know, in my family, I have to make sure I do things right, because there are other siblings that come after me and I will just ruin things for them. And I think for many women that are breaking ceilings, they also pressure in mind, like, I'm walking this and I have to be perfect in order for other women to come after me as well. And just to also give Nadine's definition of a woman, or how she would define it, she says, unfortunately, I can't just define Congolese women by itself, but I define women as a whole. I see women as strong, beautiful, unbreakable. I can go on and on, but en bref, I define women as Proverb 31.
But if I can just, before I forget, answer to your question, like, from who does the pressure come from? I would say initially it comes from men. Like, the societies we live in are created by men. But of course, if you as a woman, and all women grew up with that thought, of course it gets implemented. So the pressure we feel, and we have the kind of need to be this perfect woman, So of course we have like when you're in a room full of white people and you are the only Black people, you know that however you are doing, if you are doing great at school, for instance, then they will say for them Black people are intelligent. If you fail, they will know Black people are stupid. Or same as a woman, like if you fail as a woman, women can't do X, Y, Z. But I think it's implemented in our heads because we live in this time that we live in. But initially, I think it comes from the men who created our societies.
Just to quickly add on that, and then we can go on to the questions. I believe that, in fact, it comes from men first, but sometimes some women also tend to put pressure on other women, and that's really toxic. Because when I think of the pressure I got in my life, or the expectation, the biggest expectations, they came from women. So I remember aunties telling me, en tant que femme, tu dois te réveiller à 5 heures. 5 heures du matin, s'il vous plaît, tous les jours. Patricia's already just... non. 5 heures, parce que tu es une femme, tu dois t'occuper de tes enfants, tu dois arranger la maison. 5 heures tous les jours, s'il vous plaît. 365 jours de l'année, 5 heures tous les jours. So, you know, sometimes we also have to check ourselves and check, or I don't say go and be rude to your mothers and your aunties, but sometimes we have to break this barrier to tell them that, you know, it's okay sometimes to be not always to be on point, because you're human beings. There's also such things as mental health, which are not talked about in our societies, but this is also the result of putting pressure on women, putting pressure on people in general, that your mental health is just messed up. So that's why if I have something else to give as advice to give to other young women, would be that don't judge d'autres femmes, les femmes autour de vous. Juste laissez un peu la pression, cette pression-là. Mettez pas la pression autour de vous aussi, parce que déjà qu'on a la pression des hommes, on a la pression de la société. On n'a pas besoin d'avoir la pression encore d'autres femmes, que de cette pression-là d'être parfaite tout le temps, de se réveiller à 5 heures, de s'occuper de ci, de s'occuper de ça. C'est juste pas possible. Et c'est ça qui engendre en fait des maladies, parce que ce sont des maladies comme la dépression, comme d'autres mental health issues.
Yeah, it's funny how most of the time when we get those kind of comments from our aunties, mothers, sisters, I don't know, it's always coming back to you being a spouse, you being une femme ménagère en fait. On te dit jamais pourquoi tu ne travailles pas assez bien, tu vas pas gagner bien ton argent, tu seras jamais CEO. C'est très rare de voir un commentaire comme ça venant d'une autre femme au pays qui te dit en tant que femme, tu dois tout faire pour travailler, devenir CEO et devenir PDG et tout ça. Mais au contraire, elles ont tendance à venir te dire si tu te comportes comme ça, tu n'auras pas de mari, ou bien si tu ne sais pas cuisiner, ton mari va manger quoi, tes enfants vont avoir quelle éducation et tout ça. And it's kind of like, on nous réduit toujours en fait en tant que, bon, pas réduire, mais bon, on nous place dans une case en fait comme femme ménagère.
J'ai aussi quelque chose à ajouter. Pardon. J'ai quelque chose à ajouter en fait par rapport à cette question. La pression, elle vient de la société. La société a déjà été formée de telle sorte que même nos mamans, nos tantes ou bien nos tantines, en fait, elles voient les choses comme ça et elles pensent que c'est comme ça que les choses devraient être en fait. Sans pourtant remettre certaines choses en question. Alors nous, comme nous sommes de cette génération-là, nous avons compris que ça ne devrait pas être comme ça. Donc, il faudra plus qu'il y ait des sensibilisations. En fait, nous sommes que des humains. En fait, pourquoi autant exiger de moi pendant que je n'ai que 2 mains comme un homme ou comme tout autre humain, en fait. Donc, ouais, parlant de pression, moi, j'ai aussi une petite anecdote à raconter par rapport à cela. Je pense que ça, même dans la famille, hein, ça dépend. Parce que moi, j'ai ma grande sœur aînée. Ça, c'est pour rejoindre ce que Jenny avait dit. Ma grande sœur aînée, la manière dont elle a été élevée, éduquée, bon, dans notre même famille, c'est pas de la même manière que moi, qui suis, par exemple, vers les derniers enfants, en fait. Elle va toujours te dire à tout moment que, ouais, moi, à 8 ans, j'ai préparé déjà le foufou. Elle dit, à 8 ans, mais comment tu faisais, tu vois? Et tu as comme l'impression que même les parents étaient un peu plus dur avec elle, ben, puisque c'est l'aînée, elle doit donner de l'exemple à tous les autres qui doivent venir après elle. Ben, ce qui n'est pas bon, c'était juste aussi une enfant comme moi, en fait. Donc, ouais, je trouve ça juste un peu dommage, mais les parents, quand ils les font, dans leur tête, ils se disent que c'est ce qui est le mieux à faire, en fait. C'est sans remettre les choses en question, et ils disent que ouais, c'est un modèle d'éducation qu'on a surtout en Afrique. Il faut toujours être strict, il faut toujours être, pour que les enfants fassent un peu plus d'efforts, il faut être toujours strict avec eux. Bon, à un certain point, ça va, mais il faut qu'il y ait une certaine sorte de balance, en fait. Si c'est pas balancé, donc ça arrive à un niveau où on sent que la société est en train de demander plus de femmes, plus que ce qu'on même on peut donner, en fait. Et c'est plus surtout dans cette case-là de femmes ménagères. Moi-même, je me souviens quand j'étais encore jeune, j'avais 13 ans, ma mère m'a dit une fois, ben, tu sais pas encore préparer, mais comment tu vas faire pour gérer ta famille, en fait. Donc, à cet âge-là, j'ai commencé déjà à sentir une certaine pression sur moi. Je n'avais que 13 ans. Et en fait, j'ai appris à le faire parce que je me disais, oh non, mais demain, si je me marie, si demain, maintenant, je sais pas gérer mon foyer, en fait. Peut-être que c'est bon pour moi. Maintenant, là, je ne suis pas encore mariée, mais pour vivre toute seule, il faut une certaine organisation. Je dois ranger ma maison, je dois ranger mes documents pour travailler aussi de manière plus efficiente. Mais cette pression-là, quand j'étais encore enfant, mais je ne devrais pas encore l'avoir à cet âge-là. Pourquoi? Ouais, c'est juste ce que j'avais ajouté, en fait.
On a une question.
Interesting point that I would like to jump on, because I saw something in the comments that tied to it. Naomi talked about mental health and how, you know, the pressure can be damaging to, you know, how we feel as women. And, you know, I was thinking about it, and then I saw someone mentioning the concept of the strong, you know, Black woman, or the strong African woman. And I think that's, you know, and I think that speaks to my point earlier. It wasn't random when I didn't want to use the word unafraid to define Congolese women, because, like I said, I get scared sometimes. So I'm not that unafraid. So I think we also have to, you know, sometimes we say it because it's glamorous and it sounds cool that, you know, women are superheroes, we are Wonder Woman, and we are this and that. But hey, I think we need to be able to kind of be moderate with that, because at the end of the day, in reality, we are not superheroes. You know, we can break, we can tire, and we can fail. So I think that, you know, we have to be mindful of that. Let's treat women as human beings, because I think that's where, I don't know, there's something dehumanizing about patriarchy and sexism, because the pressure that we're talking about is dehumanizing. You know, the expectations that we're talking about are dehumanizing, and it takes away the elements that I'm a human being and I can get weak. I may need help, you know, I may need to ask for help. And sometimes we are put in position where, especially in Congolese households, you have to be able to wake up and do everything in a household by yourself as a woman. There is a culture in certain Congolese families where when a man wants to marry a woman, the woman is taken into her in-law household as some sort of an internship. They call it an internship. It's an abusive use of the word, but that's what they call it. They call it an internship. You'll be doing everything, washing the dishes, every single thing will be on her. That is ridiculous, you know. And It's just ridiculous. I don't know how we got to the point where we really normalize that. We really feel that it's okay to expect such craziness from one person. I think it's ridiculous. You know, we really need to get to a point where it's okay for women to ask for help. It's okay for women not to do everything, because it becomes damage. And even when we are damaged, we can't even talk about it because we are expected to be strong. How are you going to talk about anxious, I'm stressed, or I'm depressed in a Congolese household? Where do you guys hear?
You don't have the right to be. You don't have the right to be, and that's why I'm saying to what Naomi said. That there's also like mothers or aunts or aunties who put pressure on. I have to say I don't blame them. We can't blame the aunties and mothers because it's just how they grew up. So they grew up under the certain pressure. They're passing it on to us because they think this is what we need to know, this is what we need to do in order to be accepted in a society. So it's not really their fault, it's society's fault. So we can't blame them, and it's as you said, it's so unrealistic for a person to be all these things, never to complain, and if they do, they are exaggerating. It is so unrealistic, and this person does not exist. The person we are trying to be raised to has never existed. It is impossible.
I think this conversation right now, we will have to remember this when it's going to be our time to raise. Like, make sure we keep that somewhere, because maybe we're going to understand our aunties and our mothers when we were going to have to raise. Maybe we're going to repeat it. I hope not, but we have to remember this. Really.
Please keep
that
energy.
So we have a few comments. We have someone who wants to say something. So I wanted to read Bora's comment, but I think Bora will just speak for himself. Bora, es-tu prêt? You just have to unmute yourself. Yes. Bonsoir.
Hello, good evening, bonsoir à tous.
Bonsoir, Bora.
On m'entend, super. C'est un plaisir d'être là avec vous. Alors oui, déjà merci pour ce sujet, parce que c'est un sujet très important. Et puis, comme je disais à Terran tout à l'heure sur WhatsApp, c'est toujours un plaisir en fait de voir les femmes congolaises se réunir et puis discuter des problèmes sociétals de notre pays. Et puis, je crois que c'est un problème qui gangrène un peu tout le continent africain et puis le monde entier au plus large. Mais c'est vrai que chez nous, on a un problème qui est beaucoup plus grave, c'est le problème du fait que la femme joue un rôle très important dans la société, mais qu'elle n'a pas de reward quand il s'agit de reconnaître son apport. Et on pourra vous en parler. Hein. Aujourd'hui, demandez à tout historien, il vous dira qui étaient les pères de l'indépendance, des indépendances en Afrique, ceux qu'on appelle les pères fondateurs de l'Union africaine, mais rares seront ceux qui pourront vous donner les noms des femmes qui ont travaillé pour cette indépendance. Je me rappelle, j'étais au diplôme d'une année, j'avais fait un quiz et j'avais demandé le nom de l'épouse du président Kassavubu. Et personne ne connaissait la dame, alors que c'est une dame qui s'est beaucoup battue aux côtés de son mari pour qu'il puisse avoir la présidence. Mais rares sont les femmes qui connaissent, plutôt rares sont les personnes qui connaissent cette femme. Alors, je pense qu'il est important de notre société de pouvoir remettre en avant la femme africaine. Mais au-delà de ça, je ne pense pas que ce sera à la génération de nos parents de le faire. Je pense même que ce sera impossible, puisque nos parents ont dû subir les conséquences de la colonisation, et nous vivons ces conséquences-là par procuration, puisque de toutes les personnes ici, nous n'avons pas vraiment connu la colonisation, mais nous l'avons connue sous nos parents, donc par procuration. Nos parents l'ont vécu et nous ont enseigné ce qu'eux ont appris. Alors, nous avons eu la chance de vivre dans un monde beaucoup plus connecté, avec des personnes, la plupart d'entre nous, nous avons pu vivre en Europe, en Amérique, en Chine, en Asie, un peu partout dans le monde. Et pour ceux qui ont vécu toute leur vie en Afrique, ces personnes-là de notre génération ont pu aussi être connectés avec des gens de l'extérieur. Et puisqu'ils ont pu être connectés avec les gens de l'extérieur, ils ont pu avoir une opinion qui était la leur, une opinion qu'ils ont pu partager, une opinion qui a pu être décomplexée surtout. Alors, je pense que ce ne sera pas notre génération qui verra les changements, ce sera la génération de nos enfants. C'est important ce qui a été dit tout à l'heure. Est-ce qu'au moment où nous serons des parents, est-ce que nous aurons le courage de changer la donne? Alors, il le faudra. Il le faudra parce que sinon, ça ne s'arrêtera pas. Moi, j'ai une nièce que je crois plusieurs personnes connaissent, elle s'appelle Chanel, Diana Chanel, et je la considère comme ma fille. Alors, c'est un peu opportuniste de ma part, puisque ce n'est pas vraiment ma fille, je ne l'ai pas tous les jours et tout ça, mais j'en profite déjà pour apprendre ce que je ferai avec ma propre fille. Et si Dieu fait grâce, c'est que je n'ai que des filles, je peux vous dire que tout ce qui est patriarcat et tout ça, on va plus en parler. Parce que c'est important de pouvoir mettre le pied sur la table et dire à son fils et à sa fille, si tu as faim, tu vas te faire à manger. Ce n'est pas parce que ta soeur est là que tu vas lui faire à manger. Si ta chambre est laissée, c'est toi qui la nettoie. La personne qui n'a pas fait la vaisselle, elle doit la faire. C'est très important. Moi, j'ai grandi avec ma maman. Et ma maman venait dans ma chambre et elle voyait ma chambre sale. Et la chose qu'elle disait, c'est « tu ne vas pas trouver une femme parce que ta chambre est sale ». Parce que c'est aussi ma responsabilité de nettoyer ma chambre. C'est aussi ma responsabilité quand je suis seul à la maison le samedi, après le foot. S'ils arrivent et qu'il y a un bordel, c'est à moi de ranger, puisque c'est moi qui ai fait, qui ai fait de la maison une porcherie. Et c'est vrai qu'après ça encourage en fait la personne à être indépendante. Puisque le problème, en fait, c'est une question d'indépendance. On enseigne les hommes à être dépendants des femmes, alors que chaque personne devrait être indépendante. Aujourd'hui, si on dit que les femmes travaillent mieux que les hommes, c'est parce que les femmes apprennent déjà d'un tout jeune âge. L'homme, il arrive un peu comme Donald Trump, on lui a tout offert, on lui a tout donné sur un plateau. Non, mais c'est vrai, on lui a tout donné sur un plateau d'argent. Et tout ce qu'il a à faire, c'est juste consommer, mettre son nom sur les rapports, et puis c'est tout. Il ne donne pas de crédibilité au travail que la femme a fait. Donc, c'est tout ce que je voulais dire. Je ne voulais pas monopoliser le temps. Et ma question était de savoir, alors, pour les femmes qui sont ici et puis celles qui vont intervenir après, what would be the solutions? Because sometimes the social adjustments we bring forward are seen as foolishness on the basis of you're a foreigner, ça c'est pour nous les personnes de la diaspora, or you're too young to understand. Ça c'est quand on parle à nos aînés. And how do we change a society that relies on women for everything without regards to the psychological well-being? Donc c'est un peu ça que je voulais poser comme question après avoir apporté ma petite pierre à l'édifice. Encore une fois, félicitations et merci beaucoup pour ce genre de discussion. Et j'espère qu'on pourra avoir plus de personnes, plus d'hommes, je ne sais pas s'il y en a dans les attendees, mais j'espère qu'on pourra avoir plus d'hommes qui puissent participer, si pas activement, mais au moins écouter et prendre de notes. Bonne continuation, merci.
Peut-être pour répéter ta question, what is the solution, right? Sometimes the social adjustments we bring forward as young people are seen as foolishness on the basis of you're a foreigner, for those that are in the diaspora, or you're too young to understand. How do we change a society that relies on women for everything without regards to their psychological well-being?
Est-ce que je peux juste revenir sur quelques points qu'il a cités?
Yeah.
Si vous me le permettez. Alors, déjà, merci pour tout ce que tu as dit. Je pense que je peux parler pour nous tous. Tu as dit des très bons points. En tant qu'homme, ça fait toujours plaisir. Enfin, venant d'un homme, ça fait toujours plaisir à entendre. Et je dirais que pour revenir à l'exemple que tu as donné par rapport à ta nièce, moi, par exemple, j'ai des neveux et je fais exactement la même chose. Et je pense que c'est d'ailleurs une des solutions à apporter, c'est éduquer nos enfants autrement et surtout nos garçons. Parce que moi, je fais surtout attention à ce que je leur dise qu'ils doivent devenir indépendants. Je pense que c'est une humoriste que j'ai en tête qui a dit comment est-ce qu'un besoin aussi essentiel que manger, faire à manger, prendre soin de soi-même, on peut la donner à quelqu'un d'autre. C'est pas normal, parce qu'on est tous responsables de se nourrir. On est tous, parce que si tu te nourris pas, tu meurs. Donc, comment est-ce que, en tant qu'être humain, est-ce que tu peux laisser cette responsabilité-là à quelqu'un d'autre? Bien sûr, c'est imagé, parce que bien sûr, je pense que les hommes, ils vont pas rester non plus là et attendre s'il y a personne à la maison et juste mourir de faim. Mais le point est que le but doit être, je pense, une des solutions principales doit être d'éduquer des enfants en termes généraux qui vont être indépendants, qui vont être sains d'esprit, qui savent, voilà, je suis responsable pour moi-même d'abord, à la place de penser que oui, j'éduque mon fils en fonction du fait qu'il sera marié de toute façon. Donc, il y a des choses dans son éducation que je laisse intentionnellement, où je me dis, oh, ils n'ont pas une priorité parce qu'il aura une femme, parce qu'il a tout le temps une présence féminine pour ceux qui ont des sœurs, etc. Je pense que une des premières solutions qu'on doit, nous, activement faire, parce que, pour revenir à ce que Boraï disait, je ne pense pas non plus que nous, on va forcément être la génération qui vont voir des changements comme ça, mais nous, on est la génération qui, en beaucoup de choses, vont apporter des changements. Tout comme nous, ici, on est en train de mener une conversation qui n'est pas quelque chose d'évident pour la génération qui était avant nous, mais nous, on est en train d'introduire déjà le premier pas pour que la génération après nous et celle d'après n'ait pas à subir ces choses-là, en fait, et plus de facilité à mener ces conversations-là. Et je pense que justement, une des plus grandes solutions, c'est d'éduquer les enfants et surtout les fils à être, premièrement, des êtres indépendants de la femme. Alors, à ce qu'ils soient des êtres d'abord sains dans la société, des êtres, voilà, quoi, qu'ils soient bien dans la société, avant à la place d'éliminer certaines choses dans leur éducation, parce que, sous prétexte que, voilà, c'est attribué à la femme, ça. Tu peux pas arranger, tu sais pas comment faire certaines choses, parce que ça, c'est des choses que la femme, elle fait. Tu sais pas préparer, tu sais pas faire le foufou, parce que tu n'as pas à faire le foufou, parce que c'est ta femme qui va faire ça. Tu n'as pas à repasser tes avis, parce que c'est ta femme qui va faire ça. Non, si tu te retrouves à aller étudier, je sais pas moi, en Chine ou quelque part d'autre, tu seras face à ces choses-là. Donc, déjà, pour toi, en tant que personne, il faut que tu saches faire ces choses-là. Et parce que tu sais pas aussi, demain, tu peux avoir une femme, oui, elle peut être un soutien, oui, mais qu'est-ce qui arrive si, God forbid, quelque chose lui arrive, qu'elle n'est pas en mesure de faire ça? Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire? Tu vas rester seulement là et tu vas te dire, bon, ok, bah alors ça se fait pas. Ou comment tu vas faire? Aujourd'hui, il y a des gens, ils se retrouvent d'un jour à l'autre, ils ont une femme, après ils en ont plus. Vous divorcez, tu fais comment? Donc, c'est pas, il faut qu'on enlève la femme en rôle de, elle va faire tout ça, elle est elle est ménagère quasiment, elle est la gouvernante de la maison. Non, oui, il doit y avoir cet équilibre-là et ça part du bas âge d'apprendre, ok, aux petits garçons, ok, moi, mes neveux, je leur dis toujours, tu dois aider ta maman, tu dois aider ta tante, ils doivent m'aider de toute façon, tu dois aider ta grand-mère parce que voilà, elle n'a pas à faire ça toute seule, on se partage les rôles. Moi, j'ai fait ça, toi, tu fais ça. C'est comme ça.
There's also a question from Madame Mushegera. Just gonna give her the ability to speak. Madame Mushegera, est-ce que vous êtes prête pour votre question ou votre commentaire? Vous êtes encore en mute. Entre-temps, je vais lire un commentaire qu'on a reçu de Elsie. Une femme est épanouie quand elle est capable de faire ce qu'elle aime, que ce soit en tant que femme au foyer, tout comme CEO dans une compagnie. Il est important, à mon avis, de travailler avec les hommes pour arriver à un certain équilibre. Pour le point des aînés, plus ils sont épanouis aussi, mieux ils montrent l'exemple à leurs frères et sœurs, sinon certains d'entre eux finissent par craquer. Madame Shigera, vous êtes là. Sinon, I'm going to ask the final question to our panel, since le temps avance aussi. Is there something as a young girl that you would have loved to hear for you as a development as a woman, as a Congolese woman, and for the things that you're facing today that you didn't receive, but you would now love, or that you are actually giving to your younger sisters, to younger nieces, cousins, etc. I will just ask each one of you if you could make it as precise as possible. That would be great. Starting with Patricia.
Wow. I feel like we tackled them during this this apéro. But I really think something that I did learn when I was younger, but I wish I heard more, would just be, you know, like you can rest. It's okay to rest. You can stop now. It's okay. Just have a break.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like you have to do it all. It's take your time and have your own all and do it. I think I'll keep saying that to my my niece and everybody. Just like, it's okay. Sit, wait. You can do it after. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think just that.
Yes, me.
For me, it would be, I wish someone taught me I can actually just start saving money, have like that business mind, like, because moi j'ai grandi en pensant que le genre business, entrepreneuriat, c'est pour les hommes en fait. Genre aller faire des petites affaires, des petits jobs, c'est pour les hommes. Et moi je pensais que non, je dois d'abord étudier, tout finir et puis avoir une carrière, travailler au bureau par exemple. Mais on me disait pas que non, il y a des petits travaux que tu peux faire. Comment dire? L'idée d'entrepreneuriat n'était pas vraiment moi. So for me, it would be just like save money, invest, financial, you know, all that. I didn't know about that. I wish I knew. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Madame Shigira, vous êtes là maintenant?
Oui, je suis là. Madame Shigira, bonsoir à toutes. Encore une fois, mes compliments pour ce que vous êtes en train de faire. Ça fait la fierté des femmes, ça fait la fierté du Congo. Je vous ai écouté et d'une part, j'avais un peu les larmes aux yeux, à entendre les plaintes, à entendre tout est grâce surtout. Excusez-moi, tout est grâce. Je me suis dit, oh la pauvre. Mais je reviens un peu à la discussion que nous avions la semaine passée, Yasmine, pour savoir, comme Bora vient de le dire aussi, quelle est la solution? Qu'est-ce que vous proposez? Parce que vous vous plaignez, vous montrez votre malheur, votre souffrance, votre peine comme femme, la charge. Je trouve d'abord très bien que les échanges sont intéressants, comme Julia a dit, oui, on ne peut pas condamner les mamans, on ne peut pas condamner les tantes parce qu'elles font ce qu'elles ont appris, elles nous veulent du bien, elles ont appris que c'est ce qu'il faut. Mais c'est sur quoi je vais seulement faire un grand tour. D'abord, pour vous dire, ce n'est pas le malheur des femmes congolaises seulement, mais moi, j'ai appris ici, je vis ici en Allemagne depuis, je ne sais pas, bientôt 30 ans, les problèmes dont nous nous plaignons, nous les Congolais, les Allemands s'en plaignent aussi. Donc, les problèmes entre hommes et femmes, j'ai peur de commencer à dire que c'est dans la nature. Vous avez parlé d'éduquer. Bora a dit comment elle essaie d'éduquer son neveu. Et toi, Naomi, vous êtes ici, sa nièce plutôt, je crois, non? Bien son neveu. Moi, je l'ai essayé aussi. Je voulais apprendre à mes enfants. J'avais aussi cette rébellion en moi de dire les hommes et les femmes doivent être égaux. Il n'y a pas de différence. Vous pouvez me demander à Jenny, sa couleur préférée, c'était le bleu quand elle était toute petite. Ce n'était pas une Barbie fille, parce que je voulais vraiment éviter ça. Mais en se développant, tu vois que la fille s'intéresse aux choses des filles, le garçon s'intéresse aux choses de garçons. De manière naturelle, tu mets tout devant eux, mais leur nature les attire à des choses différentes. Mais le problème de notre société, je peux dire, c'est que moi, je vois comme problème dans notre société congolaise, c'est qu'on dit que une femme qui n'est pas mariée n'a pas de valeur. Hein? Et ça fait que ça stresse toutes les mamans de dire, mais donc, si ma fille ne se marie pas, j'ai un problème, il y a une faute que j'ai faite. OK, ça c'est un problème sérieux. Mais, je l'avais dit aussi la semaine passée, il faut procréer. Et à part les femmes, il n'y a personne d'autre pour procréer. Donc, c'est une question à poser à Dieu. Pourquoi seulement les femmes peuvent faire des enfants? Alors, quand les femmes doivent faire des enfants, l'idéal pour chaque être humain, tous les psychologues l'expliquent, c'est de grandir dans une famille stable, où il y a un père et une mère. Et quand il y a... Excusez-moi. Ah, voilà la maman maintenant. Excusez-moi. Hein?
Exactement. Mais c'est vrai que cette pression, en fait, se retrouve, en fait, à travers les générations. C'est vrai ce que Madame Chegara vient de dire, que non seulement en tant que fille, on a cette pression, mais aussi en tant que mère, on ne se rend pas compte qu'elles ont aussi une certaine pression de la société parce qu'elles sont trop jugées sur comment elles ont éduqué leur enfant. Donc, il y a aussi ça à prendre en compte.
Moi, je pense que sur la question de l'éducation, en fait, il y a un élément qui est assez important parce que je crois qu'il n'y a personne parmi nous ou personne dans la société, à moins que je me trompe, parce que je pense que c'est absolument possible, dont les parents, leur ont fait asseoir et leur ont dit, listen, son, you are above women. Listen, daughter, you are born to be submissive. I don't think anyone ever had that talk, presented that way. But I feel like it's a lot of little things in the environment that we do, the things we say, how I remember in the Congolese system, on a des options à l'école secondaire, in high school. On a des options, c'est-à-dire que tu peux choisir l'option scientifique, l'option littéraire et l'option ceci, cela. Et j'entendais souvent par exemple, moi j'ai étudié dans un lycée dans le sens belge, c'est-à-dire une école où il n'y a que des filles. Et je me rappelle que dans notre lycée, il n'y avait pas l'option. Dans l'option scientifique, il y a deux branches en fait. Il y a l'option biology, chemistry et l'option mathematics, physics. Il n'y avait pas d'option mathematics, physics parce que the idea and the stereotype is that, women don't do, mathematics, physics. A whole girls' school, there wasn't that option. So, et je pense que c'est des petites choses subtiles. C'est pas toujours très ouvert. Donc, je pense qu'en fait, what's important in education is to be deliberate and very intentional about the environment that you want to create around, children and what you say. It's that sometimes parents don't even pay attention. It's the little things that you say that puts your children in boxes, that limit them, and they grow up, they keep on hearing it again and again and again, et leur esprit est formaté à penser d'une certaine façon. So, je pense qu'il faut vraiment être de façon délibérée et vraiment intentionnelle, faire attention, faire en sorte qu'on crée un environnement où we don't foster those gender roles ideas, those gender stereotypes ideas, in order to not to box people. But I also think that I think someone mentioned it earlier in the conversation, qu'il n'y a pas de rapport de force. Ou plutôt, il ne devrait pas y avoir de rapport de force entre l'homme et la femme, mais plutôt une collaboration. So I think that mindset is really killing us. We always, we live in a society where men are trying to, assert power over women. And, when women try to reclaim the power, which is absolutely fair, but it starts feeling like a fight, and ça devient comme un bras de fer en fait. Moi, je pense que la collaboration, to instill a spirit of collaboration in our communities, in our families, in our societies is really important. For instance, in our households, everybody does chores, everybody does everything that needs to be done because when it was time to do the chores, our parents will call us all. boys and girls, we are doing it in collaboration. So we knew, okay, this one is going to do this one is going to do that. And that's how we were raised to think that in a household, we are partners. We are not in competition, or anyone is trying to assert power over somebody else. So I think it's really, that's something to consider as well.
Yeah. Julia, what is something that you would love to give to your younger self, or something that you weren't given or passed on to, that you would love to pass on to the next generation?
Two things. One thing is the question of identity. I would, especially at the young age where you are trying to find yourself, I would tell my younger self that you can be both. You don't have to choose. Being German doesn't mean that you're not Congolese. Being Congolese doesn't mean you're not German. You can be both. We are all transcultural. There is no such thing as one culture, one identity. So you can mix, and everyone has their own identity. So because I was on the research on, okay, how am I, and if I'm that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to do that, and etc. So that was what would be one thing. I wish someone told me that it's okay to be both, to pick whatever you can identify with. And second, pay attention to your needs. Do whatever makes you feel good, not whatever you think is expected from you. If you feel like this is better for you, then do it. And just really pay attention to what you need and what makes you feel good, because at the end of the day, you will be the one to live your life, and not your parents, not your aunties, not your grandparents. So do what really makes you feel. If you need a break, you take a break. If you want to move, you move. You know, there's these two things.
Espérance.
Pour moi, c'est vraiment l'épanouissement de la fille, en fait. Dès le bas âge, il faudra quand même commencer déjà à y travailler, genre lui dire qu'elle peut obtenir tout ce qu'elle veut, en fait, qu'elle peut arriver là où elle veut arriver dans sa vie. Parce que j'ai constaté que dans la société, on avait toujours tendance à dire aux jeunes filles, toi, tu n'as pas besoin de faire de longues études parce qu'il y a un mari qui va t'épouser, parce que ouais, tu seras la femme de quelqu'un, donc tu n'as pas vraiment ces fardeaux-là, cette charge-là d'aller trop loin dans tes études. Moi, j'aimerais plutôt dire à la fille, donc, si tu penses que dans ta vie, si tu vas faire PhD, fais ton PhD. Si tu veux devenir COA, donc va dans ce sens-là, fonce et travaille vraiment parce que tu as les capacités de le faire. Donc, c'est ça. Et vraiment, il faut aussi sensibiliser la nouvelle génération, en fait, des jeunes filles qui viendront après nous, parce que nous avons vécu certaines choses, parce que nous avons trouvé la société, elle est comme elle est, en fait, parce que nous avons vécu ces choses-là, parce que nos parents ont pensé que c'est ce qui était le mieux à faire pour nous. Nous, il y a maintenant, nous avons remis ces choses en question. Il y a cet éveil de conscience-là. Donc, il faudra vraiment élever les jeunes filles et les jeunes garçons dans ce sens-là d'équilibre, que genre, si tu ne peux pas faire telle chose, c'est normal que tu ne peux pas le faire parce que tu n'es pas un robot, tu n'es pas Superwoman. Donc, ouais, donc c'est juste un peu dans ce sens-là, qu'elle fasse ce qu'elle veut, qu'elle fasse des choix qui lui conviennent, en fait. C'est tout. Ouais.
Naomi.
Moi, ça serait aussi 2 points. Le premier, ça serait tu n'as pas à être parfaite. Fais ce qui te semble juste. Donc, je rejoindrai le point de Julia, c'est fais ce qui te semble bon par rapport à toi. Ne te mets pas la pression par rapport même à ta propre famille ou la communauté dans laquelle tu peux être autour. Et le deuxième, ça serait n'aie pas peur d'être toi-même, d'être juste ta propre personnalité, parce que je pense que ce qui peut arriver très vite en tant que femme noire, en tant que femme, en tant que noire, c'est que surtout quand on vit dans des cultures occidentales, c'est qu'on a tellement cette pression-là de ne pas rentrer dans les stéréotypes qu'on nous met, donc de ne pas être loud, de ne pas être excentrique ou quoi que ce soit, qu'en fait, on perd presque une partie de notre personnalité parce qu'on ne veut tellement pas confirmer un cliché, on ne veut tellement pas rentrer dans une case qu'en fait, on finit par ne plus être soi-même. Donc, c'est vraiment ça ce que, si j'avais à me donner un propre conseil à moi-même plus jeune, c'est n'aie pas peur d'être toi parce que dans tous les cas, ça finira par ressortir, donc ça n'a aucun sens même de juste atténuer ta propre personnalité pour rentrer dans une case. Et en plus, même si tu le fais, il y aura toujours quelqu'un qui va te juger là-dessus. Même si tu peux essayer de te conformer au max, il y aura toujours une personne qui va chercher la petite bête et dire que elle est comme ça parce que un tel, parce qu'elle vient de là et là, parce qu'elle est comme ça, etc. Donc oui.
Merci, tout est grâce.
I think what I would tell my younger self, or younger girls in general, is that it's okay to have standards, and it's okay to make demands. I think oftentimes we are told that as women we cannot expect things from the world or have a certain standard. Let me just give the example of the marriage thing. Yeah, I think the idea that's often instilled is that the guy that's going to want you is the one that you're going to marry. What about what I want? So you find a lot of women trapped in relationship where they're absolutely unhappy because someone wanted me and I had to say yes because someone wanted me. That can apply in a lot of other areas, but I think that's just the better illustration of it. It's okay to have standards, and it's okay to want. It's okay to say no, I do not want this. This is what I want, and yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for me, one thing that I would always want to give, because that's what I also received, was actually from my dad, who always makes me believe and pushes the fact that I can achieve everything. I can have a PhD and I can be a mother and can have a career and I can give him his grandbabies. I can do it. I mean, he expects it as well. But he's like, Jenny, you can do it. Sometimes I'm like, my friend, I need to do this first, then this. And he's like, Jenny, if you put your mind to it, and you are Jenny, you can do it. You have to put your mind to it and you can get through that. Is it going to be easy? Definitely not. But you have the ability, you have the capacity to do that. And I think we often need to be reminded of that. We can do it. It is possible. There are going to be compromises, yes. There are going to be things that are not going to be that easy, but we never hear a guy questioning whether he can do something or not. And I think we also need to be empowered more and more. And I think we need to have, we have to raise those sons as well, to be those fathers to those daughters, to empower them as well, and to make them feel like you can do everything that you put your mind to and you can achieve that. The second thing would be, it's okay and you should pursue your passions. Often we think that we have to, if we're already in a certain situation, we have to go into a career that is already noble and established, but it's okay to go after your passion. It's okay to do what really interests you, because I sincerely believe, and that's also a basis of Congo excellence, that whatever you pursue, you decide to pursue, it has the capacity to create value. And that can be monetary value, but that can also be societal value. And everything that we do creates something, and it creates something valuable. So I really want to encourage women to go after their passions and to really go behind what makes their heart and soul and the whole being burn, because that's how you really as a woman can contribute to society, to its development, to its betterment, when you are in your full when you're your full self by doing what you really, really want. And I think what is also important, that when we have these conversations as women, we often speak of, we have to do careers, we have to be able to do all these things. It's also okay to be a housewife and a mother. That is you creating value for society as well. That is you also giving back. That is you also fulfilling your passion and your potential. It is not less than someone that is a CEO of a huge company. And I think that is also something that we need to mention in these conversations as well, that one is not lesser than or better than. We should have the choice to decide what we want to do, and we should go after that with our full capacities and abilities, because we can. With this, we come to the end of our conversation. It went longer than what we expected, but I think it was so valuable and so interesting that we couldn't just stop. I hope you guys, you on the panel, but also our viewers, enjoyed it as much as I did. And there are definitely snippets and points that we mentioned that are super important for all of us, and that we can all take away. I think we learned that we were raised in a certain way by people who understood that to be right, and that we have a responsibility to do it better. We learned that we have to keep having these conversations. We learned that maybe we should take it to Clubhouse, because this is an important conversation. So that's definitely something that we will look into, if Clubhouse is less discriminatory with Android users. But I think we also learned what the Congolese woman, or who the Congolese woman is, and also saw that we are so diverse and we're so different. There's strength and boldness in being out loud and present, but also quiet in the back. And that we're all having so different experiences, but we all understand our capacities and our values, and that we want to really empower our women to do that as well. And we understand that we need men on our side. This is not a gender war. This is really a war that we're fighting both together. And what we're asking is to really have a seat at the table, and to also be contribute to making all our lives much better. So on that note, thank you everyone for watching. If you want to know more about Congo Excellence, make sure to check us out on all our social medias. Make sure to also sign up as a member, so you're always up to date with what we're doing. You have great benefits from being a member by getting access to certain informations that can bring you forward in your professional educational careers. Esperance is there to answer all of your questions. If you're interested in joining our team, we often have openings. You can always reach out to us, and we're sure that we're going to find